Hi everyone, hope you are doing well from wherever you're watching this channel, depending on your time zone. Now, the Kenya Kwanza side had insisted on the use of Kim's kit, while the Azimio side wanted the use of manual to be also allowed in this election. But because Ruto and his team went further, even to the Court of Appeal with this case, finally they ruled in their favor. So the IEBC had no option but to go with that side. But when the voters go to the polling station, still some of this Kim's kit failed. To an extent even, we saw William Samoei Ruto was running with Rigathi Gachagua having a problem just to identify himself through the Kim's kit. Until it took him a very long time just to identify himself. And there were people whom it has gone to an extent, even whether you are trying to identify him with a photo or a fingerprints, they all failed together. To an extent now they had no any other option. Then you wonder why William Ruto and his team did not want the use of manual. Someone like Boni Khalwale in Kakamega has been crying because he knows he's going to win that seat. He has been crying that the Kim's kit is not working. And that is the situation people have had in this country as we are concluding this election. Now, there are some areas in this country where Kim's kit failed totally. Nothing was happening on the ground. And we want to go further to look into those areas to understand the stronghold of the Nani and what went on later. But before we go deep into that, just a quick request. You might be watching this channel, but you're not yet subscribed. So my humble request, please consider subscribing so that another time, once we release a video like this one, you will always get notified. Again, to all our channel subscribers and anyone who drop comment, I must say thank you so much for your unconditional support. Again, I'm requesting you to give this video a thumbs up so that YouTube can recommend our videos to more viewers. Back to our discussion. Now, these are some of the areas which was totally affected with the use of Kim's kit. For example, if you go to a place like Kakamega County, in Kakamega County, we are talking about Matungu constituency. We're talking about Mumias East constituency and the Mumias West constituency. 3 constituencies in Kakamega County. Then, the other areas which also face the same issue, it is Makueni. And when we talk about Makueni, we're talking about 84 stations facing the same problem. So we're talking about Lower Eastern and the Western region. In Kakamega as a whole, about 200 Kim's kit have failed. So look at that. Those are the numbers. And now, if you go deeper to check into these areas, when you talk about Kakamega County, this is an area where we have seen Raila Odinga getting more than 68% in terms of opinion polls. And if you want to use the 2017 result, Raila got more than 70% of the vote casted in Kakamega County. So when you talk about Matungu, Mumias East, Mumias West, this is a stronghold of Raila Odinga. And remember, if you're talking about Kakamega County, which has more than 800 registered voters, the only other area you can try to compare with this one could be somewhere like maybe Kiambu, though Kiambu has a little bit more. But that is the area you can try to compare with the Kakamega County. So that is huge. This is an area where Raila Odinga expects to get the highest votes as far as his stronghold is concerned, tukikuja kwa mambo ya Western, before you go to Nairobi and those other areas. So Kakamega is significant, and having 3 constituencies, that is large. Then you talk about the issue of Makueni. Makueni, we know Kivutha Kibwana ako pale, Mtula Kilonzo Jr. could be the next governor. So that is Raila Odinga's stronghold. He expects to get more vote from that area. And if you're talking about 84 stations having problem with the issue of Kimskit, that is also another big issue. The question that comes in, if the IBC officers knew that if you're not going to identify the voter through the fingerprint, if it has also failed to identify the voter through the photo, then the only option they were remaining with was to go for the manual. Because that's the information from IBC. That manual will be the last option. Why is it that these IBC officers in Kakamega County and those in Makueni failed to use manual? They are waiting to call until sijui Chebukati ndio sasa tena wapeana ruhusa nyingine ya kutumia manual. You have delayed people for long hours. People have waited. Then you bring in the manual system now. People have been on the line for long hours. They have queued for long hours. Sasa wamekaa from morning, wale walienda asubuhi at 6, saa 4, saa 5, saa 6, saa 7. From morning to saa 7 is when now you are introducing the use of manual identification. How many hours? A half of the day. Even more than a half. Watu wamekuwa tu. Then the register come halfway. The manual use come halfway. So already these people are tired. They are exhausted. Some have even gone back home. Could there be a plan someone was trying to engineer vote apathy in Raila Odinga's stronghold? So that he cannot get enough numbers in Kakamega County. 3 constituencies big. So that he cannot get numbers required in Makueni. Because if you talk about Makueni, there is nothing Ruto is going to get there. What he can come out in Makueni could be 10 or 15% of the total cast votes. If you're talking about Kakamega, the farthest they can get, it is 10 to 15% of the total casted votes. So if people are not voting in Kakamega, then Raila has more to lose, but Ruto has nothing to lose. In fact, Ruto is gaining when he's losing, if really the opposite is happening in his stronghold. Because when you talk about Kakamega or Western region, then you are going to compare that to Mount Kenya region, where Ruto is expecting to get more of these votes. So if it is not working in Kakamega and it is working in Mount Kenya, then you are trying to play with Raila Odinga's votes in that way. So to me, that was a bad thing to happen. IBC officers were aware what they were supposed to do if you have tried every means possible to identify these people and it is failing. You are just supposed to turn on to the manual. Because we have other areas where the IBC officials were using manual when all this other way of identifying the voter has failed. So manual was the last option, and that is what they were going for. But why delays in these areas? So someone was trying to engineer vote apathy. But the good thing is that the leaders have still called on the people. They have been on the ground. Wakiambia wangoja. So hope they are going to extend the time until everyone is going to vote. Another thing is this one. For example, what Rigathi Gachagua has gone through just to identify himself. You have tried all those means, it has failed. Look at the time Rigathi Gachagua took inside there, trying to identify himself, because he went there a long time. So it means one person taking more than 20 minutes to identify himself. And the people are queuing. We have pregnant women. We have wamama wakongwe. Huko na wazee wako kwa laini. Tuko na walemavu wako kwa laini. Tuko na wagonjwa wako kwa laini. Then someone take 20 minutes on that line. Tell me if these people are going to persevere. Is it possible all of them are going to wait to the end? The truth of the matter, hii mambo ya Kimskit imefanya watu wengine hata wasipige kura. Because you take long. If one thing has failed, go to manual direct, it could have served. And this is where I found the reason why Azimio wanted the manual register also. Because some people are going to get tired. The sick will not wait that much long. Hawa mama ambao ni wajawazito hawatangoja huo muda mrefu. Wale walikuwa na watoto hawatangoja hiyo muda mrefu. Wale wako na walemavu hawatangoja hiyo muda mrefu. Na pia wale wakongo hawatangoja hiyo muda mrefu. So at the end of the day, they end up giving up and go home. Wajapiga kura. So in as much you will say, oh, turnout was not good. Even this turnout has been engineered with some of these IBC officials. Na team Kenya Kwanza. They have been part of that game. So all those have happened in some of these areas. I know there are other areas I've not mentioned, but I was putting more keen eye on Kakamega issue, mambo ya Western region. Then of course we talked about kule Lower Eastern. Hizo ndio areas zimeathirika pakubwa. But still, I know people are going to be given more time to vote. And yes, a clear winner will get his share of votes in these areas. That's my view. I don't know what to think about this, but let us meet in the comment section to have a continuation of this conversation.